This episode is brought to you by The Guarantors. Chasing down residents who don't pay their rent is taxing enough. Did you know you could offset the risk of renter default? Meet The Guarantors. They'll requalify your applicants and insure their rent. If the resident doesn't pay, you still get paid. Visit theguarantors.com/multifamily today. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Collective. I am your host, Mike Brewer, and today I am thrilled to introduce a true powerhouse in the world of multifamily real estate marketing, Stephanie Versin. Stephanie is an accomplished marketing executive with over 25 years of experience in the multifamily and hospitality industries. In our upcoming conversation, you'll hear from someone who has truly mastered all the aspects of marketing, from strategy and digital innovation to branding, operations, and leveraging the latest technologies. Stephanie has been a key player in unifying sales and marketing teams to create seamless, customer-centric experiences. But her expertise doesn't stop at marketing. In 2022, Stephanie was honored as one of the most influential women in the Bay Area business, a testament to her leadership and strategic thinking. She's a leader who not only charts the course, but also guides her team forward with mentorship and vision. Stephanie is also a sought-after speaker at top industry conferences like AIM, Blueprint, and NMHC's OpTech. She shared her insights on the latest trends in leading publications like Hospitality Net, Commercial Property Executive, Hotel Business, BizNow, and Multifamily Insiders, and now on the Multifamily Media Network in this show, the Multifamily Collective. Stephanie is truly in a league of her own when it comes to marketing, real estate, and leadership. I'm excited for you all to hear our conversation and learn her incredible journey. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this one. In this episode, we talk about outsourcing and offshoring, two different things, and she gives us the definition for both. We're going to talk about culture in the context of outsourcing and offshoring. We want to talk about how to keep brand consistency in an environment like that. And we want to talk about fear of change, that is. Now, as is tradition, before we get started, I want to encourage every single one of you to grab your favorite beverage. For me today, it is Free Reign. I'm drinking the branded version of Free Reign, which has a little bit of cayenne pepper in it. So this episode is going to be hot for sure. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike.
How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Very much looking forward to this.
I am as well. I have to tell you, you're in one of my favorite cities in the world. They're in San Francisco, correct?
Correct. Yes, it's one of the best one for sure.
I lived there for just about a year, a little over a year, and it really literally was one of my favorites. Except for traffic. Outside of the traffic, it was a wonderful place.
It's okay though. It's much better than a bigger city like LA, for example. So I'll take the little traffic. It's good that we have people coming back to the Bay Area, actually, after COVID.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. So, well, let's sort of frame up our conversation for today. I'm really excited about this conversation for a variety of reasons. And your experience is just rich in the multifamily space, and so I want to draw on and pull some strings and really get into a deep dive. But you, in a prior life, let's say, put together a platform that had a component to it that was offshoring some of the operations. And that's really the frame for this conversation today, is how do we run a multifamily platform, taking advantage of the opportunity to do some offshoring and some other kind of organizational design elements. But would you add to that so we can sort of frame it out for our audience?
Sure, that would be my pleasure. I think I had the chance to join a company in my most recent position that had centralized leasing, which is, yes, it's a buzzword nowadays, but it has been done by many big companies in the multifamily. We were operating about 8,000 units in 3 different markets, and our assets were fairly small, physically fairly small, like 20 to 25 units average size. So therefore, centralization was we were born centralized in the sense of nobody was on site for leasing.
Right.
I think the specificities of my last position was the fact that marketing, leasing, and resident services were under the same roof, overseen by me. So the entire customer journey was actually managed with the same goal of making sure that we're doing a good job from prospect to leasing to moving in to being a resident. And during my tenure, we actually went even further by offshoring most of our leasing activity, leasing coordinators, inside sales calls. The only people that was still domestic team were the leasing agents, of course, the boots on the ground, touring our buildings in the 3 different markets. And initially, I really, first I want to define a little bit the difference between offshoring and outsourcing, because I think people are using both in the same way, but it's not the same way.
Really good point.
Outsourcing is really giving to a third-party company an entire function. And in some ways, there's a contract with that third-party company who will use their own processes to deal with that function. Outsourcing is really an extension of your onshore team. You are managing those people. You might be using a company that will help you with the payroll from that country and recruiting, but you are actually really managing those people. Those people are dedicated to you. They do not work with someone else. So at my last position, we outsource our leasing inside sales and leasing coordinators team to the Philippines.
I have a question as it relates to that. Team members in a consumer journey, especially as it relates to sales, very important. How much of a hand did you have in hiring the team members that were in the Philippines to make sure that they fit your organization and your culture?
Yes. This is a very good question. Actually, you really have to first do your very due diligence of selecting your partner, the outsourcing firm that will help you with recruiting, finding the candidates, and the payroll. So you have to find someone, a company that is very used to multifamily or the business processing, outsourcing, call centers, etc. Really, a company that understands what is customer services in America, because it has to be. I say they have to really understand how American companies, corporations work to be able to find the right talent locally in the Philippines. So find a partner that really is used to outsourcing for multifamily, for retail, for banking, for hospitality, call centers would be, I think, my best recommendation.
Sure.
Also, defining very in details who you are looking for from a behavioral point of view, background point of view, experience point of view, to really help the outsourcing firm to recruit and to present to you the right candidates, because you want to save time on both sides. So having very detailed job descriptions, skill set required. And then the process is that outsourcing firm will provide you with resumes, videos, clips, and writing samples for you to check, verify, listen, and say, yeah, I'd like to interview with this person, or no, I don't like this profile. Then from there, the outsourcing firm is on the interview call with you to really understand the questions you're asking those candidates. Why are you declining that candidate? Why are you moving forward with the other candidates? I think it's we chose the Philippines compared to India from two criteria. One, their English was extremely good, better than mine in terms of accent. So it's easier on the call center side to make sure that their English is almost as neutral as possible.
Understood.
And then in the Philippines, we we found candidates that were highly skilled and educated, that really were very used to work with American corporations and very used to the graveyard shift. Because you have to remember they work your hours, your American hours, basically. So they work at night, during the night, when we are up and running on the Pacific coast, for example. So selecting candidates that have done it before, that are used to the American culture as well, is very important, because there is definitely a cultural component to be met. You want to make sure that you are hiring people that are used to the American culture, the way we work, our processes, etc., etc. So that would be my insight, is really do your due diligence in selecting your outsourcing firm partner, making sure it's very clear with them what you are looking for, giving feedback on candidates that were not as great as you were hoping and why, and then interview thoroughly and spend a lot of time really interviewing, understanding their equipment, understanding how do they work at night, do they have an electrical generator in case there is an outage, where do they live, are you close to a big city in case you need to go to a shared space to work, etc., etc. So it's an entire new process that I learned through outsourcing. But I want to say to our audience, it's a very fulfilling process. I have been lucky enough to select and build an offshore team that was excellent, really, really excellent, dedicated team. I was managing them directly. You basically train them, you infuse your processes, your policies. My experience was they are very good at wanting to be excellent. And this is something that, as a manager, makes your job a little easier when you have a team that is super motivated to do excellent job and very responsive and very responsive to training, to learning more, to do.
Let's park here for just a second. So you've brought someone on board. You've made sure that the processes and systems and disciplines and routines and training are all of that stuff is imbued in their minds. Is there a component of this that you as an organization kept in place or put in place to make sure that they stayed inspired and motivated over long bits of time?
Yes, we were considering our offshore team really part of the global team. We called ourselves a global team at the end, and I wanted to make sure they were feeling also successful when we were successful. So when we were meeting our leasing goals every month, the inside sales team was getting a little bonus. The leasing coordinators team was getting a little bonus. Like, everybody else gets a little bonus when you reach your goals. And why not the offshore team? And I think this was the main component of our success, is to be like, you are part of the solution. You are part of that success at the end of the month. And you need to get rewarded for it. And I can tell you, when we implemented that reward on a monthly basis, everybody was really like, you are part of the game. You really are part of the team, as anybody on in America, as much as in the Philippines. And that really, to me, cemented the relationship with the onshore offshore team, is to be, we have the same goal, we have the same processes. And if you are successful, I will be successful as well.
I love that. So I mean, to the extent that you could, without them actually being physically in San Francisco, you made them a part of the team, helped them feel
Yes.
part of the culture, and they just became
We
even.
we organize virtual team events, and as much as it's difficult, it is possible nowadays with technology and organizing games and having them win a gift card. Like, everything was how can we make sure we had a costume contest for Halloween? We try to really have their national holidays as well, recognizing their culture as much as them understanding, the 4th of July, what it is. So trying to build that bridge culturally on having two different culture on the same call. It doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be an offshore team and an onshore team. Nowadays, you have a lot of people coming from different cultural background, including me. I'm not
Yeah.
offshore, but I'm not from here. So having that comfortable atmosphere that the offshore team is as important as the onshore team for the success of the company was, I think, the key here to be really integrated. Because at the end of the day, that's the difficult part, is how can I make them feel vested in our success, even though you are very far away and you are working at night, and we will never be able to have a in-person coffee conversation at the coffee machine. So that's what we try to do.
Got it. So before we dig into what maybe some of the specific things that those individuals do in the process, let's unpack. So we've heard a lot of good things, a lot of pros as it relates to what are some of the. I have to believe there's some cons to or some downside
Of
to
course.
offshoring, and so I'm interested to hear about that as well.
So I think the first challenge that we have to own to our own selves is the fear of change. Like no change is easy for any teams, including me myself. Like I was just like, really, offshoring? This is weird. I've never done it. There is a total apprehension of, are we doing the right thing? Does it make sense? Are we going to dilute the initial team with new people that are coming from very different background? And it took me a while to, I knew the business case was there. Like we would be saving a little bit, cutting a little bit cost, and elevating the customer experience by hiring very motivated, high skilled new associates. But to me, it was like, how are we going to make sure that first we train them we have to train them the same way we train our onshore team. We have to treat them the same way, but we also have to recognize their cultural differences. So it's that balance of, we are one dream, one team, but there's also, you have to recognize and be comfortable with different cultures. And my big challenge was to convince every one of my managers, on-site managers, that this is going to be the right thing to do for us at the end. This is going to be 1 + 1 = 3. Trying to build trust and building loyalty to that offshore team was also initially, we had a little bit of turnover because we didn't have precise in our hiring. So we had some fast turnover first. And then I was like, okay, let's regroup. Let's make sure we partner with our outsourcing firm to nail down who we want. And that's really, I'm really insisting on this. The process of recruiting is crucial for avoiding high turnover. And building trust and loyalty. So making sure that you do your due diligence at the beginning during the recruitment interviewing is the key to bring on board people that stayed with us like 1 + 2 years, like more than basically even my onshore team in those jobs. Remember, those jobs are highly, the success of offshoring a role has to be highly repetitive. It could be done remotely thanks to technology. It has to be very clearly processed and with a clear protocol. So people follow the rules and they love following the rules, but it has to be established clearly. You have to have a clarity on your processes. So the big challenges was first to really clean up our processes and policies to make sure that we were clear with what we were asking them to do, leveraging technology and making sure they were trained properly to use the tool the same way that the onshore team was using the tool, battling a little bit the fear of the onshore team to think like, well, someone is going to replace me. And I want to be clear here. There is no replacement. There is elevation to bringing on very high qualified teammate to elevate the customer experience. And that's really, to me, the goal is like an enhancement of the global team instead of like thinking I'm going to be replaced.
I think you hit on a real important point in multifamily today that, and this is across broad industry. So, but it's impacting multifamily, and that is that we have to rethink some of our roles and our responsibilities because technology is going to impact the industry, and it is going to take away some of that rote and routine work, whether it be offshored and or completely automated in some cases. We have to, it's important that leaders get people comfortable with that you're not losing your job, but your job may look different tomorrow. And we're here to help
Yes.
that transition.
Yes, and if you can elevate the scope of work of your onshore team with something a little bit more interesting, more engaging with the customer, or something that is more fulfilling to them, instead of having them put down with very repetitive work, administrative work that they usually do not like doing, then it's better. Then you have a happier workforce, a happier team that is going to think, well, I got it. Okay, offshore does this, and I now can do this, and I now can better serve my customer. I now can do something that I can learn something else. I can actually, my path is a little different than just being stuck in that role that I kind of liked, or I did because I had to. So it's a very different mindset that it's not easy. I'm telling you, sometimes some people are not ready for that shift of mindset, but I think that's where the industry is going. A lot of industries went there before, like look at the hospitality industry, the shared services model has been there forever.
Yes.
And while slowly but surely, thanks to technology, getting there, and it's much easier to think about it now than
I
before.
100% agree with that. It's technology has actually caught up with our imagination in these concepts and these organizational designs.
Yes.
For sure.
And I would say also I think that the other fear is like onboarding people that live very far away with a different culture. And it's that lack of, I will never see you in person. That could be also difficult as a team. But I have to tell you, after COVID, most of my team was anyway remote.
Right.
So remote for someone being 200 miles away from San Francisco, or someone remote being very remote. To me, you have to be agile and flexible in different level of what is remote. Really, remote is not being in the office every day,
That's
which
right.
rarely I had the luxury of having my teammates in the office.
That's right. Remote, no matter what the zip code or the
How
address or
remote?
the country is, right? It's all remote.
Yes, and I think the other challenge that I had that is very important to notice here is also how to maintain your brand consistency, your level of customer services, by having, different teams in some ways. But it's really about training people, your onshore and offshore team the same way, all together, understanding that they give them the chance to give you feedback on their own challenges, on maybe the tool, on being remote, on trying to be a good listener, because they will have different challenges than your onshore team. Sometimes it's training them on making sure that they know how to respond to people that think that they are talking to an offshore team and they are going to be nasty on the phone.
Sure.
How do you respond to that? Usually the domestic team doesn't have this issue. Trying to really cater to their need. In terms of, do you need extra training on that tool? Do you let me make sure I train you enough on all our neighborhoods in San Francisco so you can cross promote properly on the phone from one property to another. We spend a lot of time on bringing that knowledge to the offshore team. You don't know LA, never been there. Well, we're going to do special training on LA neighborhood, LA specificities. Read these, go to this link, this website. Like get yourself informed. So the training to the knowledge that you might not have by, it's like a call center that you outsource. You have to train them to make sure that they understand what are the neighborhoods. When someone wants to be in West Hollywood, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. But we spend a lot of time on training. I have to tell you the ramp up before they can even start really serving the customer was much longer than the onshore team, obviously.
And that, I'm curious about how long that was, but I'm also curious. So, my mind defaults to like people can get on airplanes and they can fly over here, but it's not like you're flying from Wyoming to San Francisco. You're flying across an ocean. I wonder if that would make sense at some point where somebody actually comes and experiences the sort of physical. Did you ever do that, or have you heard of that?
No.
We will get right back to the episode after a word from our sponsor. Attention, multifamily pros. If you haven't heard of the guarantors, take note. They provide insurance products that ensure you will ultimately and simply collect what's owed if a resident stops paying. Widen your applicant pool, turn conditionally approved and denied applicants into residents, and protect against the financial threat of renter fraud, all at no cost to the operator. With awesome customer service and a complete risk mitigation suite, it's a no-brainer. Visit theguarantors.com/multifamily and speak to their team today.
No, so we in my past life we outshore as well, offshore as well, accounting, and I know that our chief of accounting went once a year to meet the team there to really build an in-person relationship.
Yes.
I didn't have the opportunity to do that, but I do think that once a year, really making the effort to go there, meet them, have a get together there, and really share in-person moments is, I think, very important for building trust, building retention, building loyalty. That's also an important part. You cannot just be far away forever, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about a day in the life of an offshored team member and how they sort of interconnect with an onshore team member. And maybe you do that in the context of walking through, I call you on the phone and here we go. But let's hear how
Yes. So let's say you are a prospect and you want to visit an apartment in one of our apartments in San Francisco. So you'll pick up the phone or you'll send an email to say, I want to tour this apartment. Someone in the Philippines is going to pick up that phone and is going to ask you the 5 qualifying questions. What's your budget? When is your move-in date? Do you have a pet? Etc., etc. That qualified lead will be then passed on to our leasing agents that are in the market, boots on the ground, touring. The agent is going to schedule those tours with that prospect. The tour goes very well, so they want to sign a lease. Then that prospect is passed on to our leasing coordinators offshore team. The leasing coordinators is going to pick up that prospect to say, now please go online to do your online application. If you have any questions, I'm here. There are the specialized people to only answer questions about online applications, about moving questions, what are the requirements. So again, I cannot say we can talk about centralization without talking about role specialization. So we divided the leasing process into the inside sales call team was only qualifying leads, really trying to make sure they were passing the most qualified lead to our leasing agents. Our leasing agents were only scheduling and touring assets. And then the leasing coordinators, their only job was to help with the online application, answer any questions possible, help with the leasing execution of the lease. So, back and forth questions, sign your lease, countersign the lease, make sure the requirement for the move-in, have we received the deposit? Do you have your insurance? Blah, blah, blah. All that very much tedious red tape to be done before the leasing coordinators was scheduling the move-in with the property management, sending the lease document, making sure the property manager was ready for that person to move in whenever that was happening. So really, when you back off and look at traditional leasing agents on site, they used to do all of this, answering the phone, grabbing a package, walking, touring when they had time, doing administrative tasks, running a report about what happened today, etc., etc. This has been completely put apart by specialized role where you become an expert at answering the phone because you actually like doing it, because you like answering phones, because you are very good at it, because you've been trained for it. Then you have your leasing agent. The only thing they want is to tour, get the deal done, and move on to another tour. That's why you love this.
Yes.
And then your leasing coordinators love the red tape and the details of making sure the lease is executed properly on time with all the different things that needs to be happening. And the moving process is taken care of. And to me, this is where productivity rises, because everybody is very good at what they do and they love doing it. So it's a double positive aspect. You are very good at it and you love doing it. The number of times you are good at something, you don't like it, or you kind of like it, but you are not good at it. Whereas you combine those two, and this is where productivity rises. This is where actually you really have a very well-oiled machine.
Yes.
Because everybody is at their place with the skill they need and the love they need to really be very efficient at their work. And I love that. I really do think that this is where you cannot be good at everything. No. I am not good at everything. No. So being really trained and specialized in something, you are good at it and you love it. That's the key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think where you're people who are more of generalized knowledge, at least in my opinion, somebody has a working understanding of all of this stuff. They're probably more well suited at being in leadership and or / management roles, where if somebody needed something or they need friction taken out of the system,
yes,
you can do that because you at least have a working understanding, but you're probably not very good at what they do.
No, and some people really like doing what they are doing.
Yes.
They are really happy with it. They don't want something else or become a manager and managing people. So we have to recognize, the existing resource that we have. Some people would want to grow, yes, of course, and some people will be absolutely completely happy doing a very good job here in that specific silo of tasks.
Yeah. So let's talk about that as it relates to one of the things that I've heard in the industry, and this is really broadly speaking, but maybe you have some specifics as it relates to this, is that the career path for somebody is, I mean, you guys were born centralized, right? So,
yes,
or you were organizationally designed in a way that was conducive to running small properties, but career path, I imagine, still has some significance in that organization. People are concerned about that. Like, the leasing consultant role doesn't look the same today, and therefore my path, or the assistant manager's role, doesn't even exist anymore. So what is my path to property manager?
Yes, and I have observed in the multifamily industry that actually there is a lot of options for people coming from leasing. You can you can become marketing. Coming from marketing, you can go to leasing. From leasing, you can go to property management. From property management, you can go to asset management. To me, actually, there is a plethora of options. I think it's easy to say, well, if you are leasing, you will always be leasing. This is not true. That's never been true. And I think we need to do a better job in drafting and drawing that path, which is, well, you are a rock star in leasing. You are leasing coordinators. Do you want to become a leasing agent? Okay, great. Become a leasing agent. I've seen that. I've done that before. I've promoted the leasing coordinators to become a leasing agent, and he was very successful. My offshore team, I've seen that as well. From inside sales, they wanted to become leasing coordinators. So even in the offshore team, we had some career paths. From inside sales, you can become a leasing coordinator. You can also, we outsource also our resident services. So when you were calling as a resident, you had an offshore Philippine team. You could also be becoming a resident services associates if you want, answering the phone, because you are very good at that, but you just want to learn another skill, taking care of tenants instead of taking care of prospects. So I think there is actually, you have to be creative in helping people to find their way. If you are good on the phone, there is many things that could be done. If you are really good at processes, you could also be, in the marketing side and doing marketing acquisition and drafting campaigns. And so I've seen it all. I'm not sure it's completely perfect for everyone, but if you are open to learning new skills, I think multifamily has so many paths for people that just want to add skills. You don't have to stay on site forever. You can actually go to property management, or even, sometimes maintenance has a lot of amazing career paths, not just like being an electrician, but just being a maintenance, organizing dispatch of your maintenance workforce, asset management, pricing, marketing. There's so many actually paths that could be possible. It takes time. I'm not saying it's, every day you can grow, but it's learning multiple aspects of the business will make you a much better rounded profile for the next step.
You hit on something there that I want to piggyback on, because I think you're so right. My personal experience, I started out in the industry, actually bought a bunch of real estate and managed it myself. So I was the maintenance guy. I leased it. I did all the stuff, right? And through that process, I got a real window into what maintenance issues are, how to define them, the whole vocabulary that exists in maintenance. And also, when I went into traditional multifamily, I became a leasing consultant, then assistant, and so on and so forth. But anyway, to your point, that well-rounded, well-versed mind in all of those aspects of business, I have to believe made me a better manager and leader. And it also made me cognizant of when and if people tried to misinform me, right? Or pull some wool over my eyes. I'm like, no, you know. You know the right questions to ask.
It also, I think we need to do a better job in showcasing the path, the possible path,
100%.
and providing training to people to say, well, if you want to go towards the marketing, this is the type of training you should be attending to be considered for a marketing job, or vice versa. On the leasing side, if you want from marketing joining leasing, well, this is the type of skills we're looking for. How about you attend that type of training? So I think helping people to really see the path, because it's not super obvious, but it is totally possible. And training is the key here. How can I add crucial skills for me to move to the next step?
Yeah. And I think in that pursuit of the next level, there certainly is training internal to your organization, and certainly your manager or your leader should play a central role in that, especially as it relates to the definition. But please know, you can Google anything today.
as
you
well.
can you can YouTube anything, and you can really learn on the fly, and you can enhance your skill
Yes.
set without your organization. And it can complement your organization, or it can enhance your organization, but it certainly gives you the tools to be ready
Yes.
when
And
opportunity presents
and
itself.
I think we've seen it in multifamily. You have people that have been there for decades that
Yeah.
started in property management, ended up in asset management or elsewhere. And this is the beauty of this industry. There is multifaceted activities that you can go for. And
Mhm.
that's the beauty of it. You are
That
never
is right.
stuck into one little path, I don't think, especially if you want to learn more.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Let's back up for a second as we sort of pull this all together. I imagine as you're walking into this experience of building an organization, employing some offshoring or some outsourcing or some other organizational design components, are there things you would have done differently, or things you could have done sooner, or things you did real fast that you wish you would have waited a little bit longer to do?
I think what I would have done differently is really defining the people we needed offshore, and really maybe spend a little bit more time to understand the culture, to understand how the culture of the country we were outsourcing.
Mm.
Um, ask ask maybe tougher questions during recruitment to really see how, because some culture are very do not like to say no, to respond no to a question, for example, and you have to translate that yes into actually it probably was a maybe, so let me ask another question differently to see if that yes was a true yes or if it was just a yes to please me.
Uh,
I learned that the hard way as well. So really gauging the culture well, we're about to onboard into our global team was something that I had to learn I had to learn it. You cannot learn it if you have not experienced it, but really be very diligent in your recruitment, in spending the time to read the resumes, to interviews, to understand the path of the candidate in front of you, and because it takes time. It's like hiring onshore as well, but I
sure.
think over there it's because there is so much flexibility in the sense of the person could be done with you within 7 days, and we can be done with them in 7 days as well. It really doesn't give you a lot of time to recoup if someone leaves, and so
Mm.
the turnover could be going very fast. You're just like, oh gosh, I have 7 days to find someone else. So really, really doing your due diligence at the beginning is something that I learned going through it in a very painful way at the beginning, and then I just want to share that insight. It's like really first choose a very good outsourcing firm that has many different clients that are similar to your own company, to be like, okay, they know my industry, they understand what we're looking for, they understand what a leasing associate is or does.
Mhm.
They can be very good partners in advising you, and they have a pool of talent already that they know because they go through those talents with the other clients that they have. So try to find someone that really has a lot of affinity with your business model to start with, and then really do your due diligence of being on this interview process with your manager. So you can ask your manager can ask the technical question, and you can ask the behavioral questions that is always very important to add in an interview process.
It sounds like, in everything that you just said, I'm going to speculate, and maybe you can validate or not. Offshoring is not a new thing, and offshoring in multifamily is neither a new thing. So organizations that are set up in the Philippines or offshore are actually very versed in the art of what we do for a business, right?
They
And
are.
so you're really getting an expertise there that is not, it's not like you're pulling it off the shelf today as a new product. It's proven.
It's proven. I think initially you had the outsourcing. So a company was doing the call center for a lot of companies,
Right.
and you don't have the control of who they are using. You don't have a dedicated team. We've been using that for a long, long time. Big companies in the multifamily have call centers elsewhere, but they are not really managing that call center. Someone else, a third party, does it.
That's right.
I think the new nuances is the offshoring, which means that you are really building an extended team
Mm-hmm.
to your own team.
Right.
And I was managing my team. I was deciding who to hire, who to let go, who to, etc. So that's, you have a total control of your dedicated team. And because they are dedicated to you, they are basically, I consider them like any other employees,
Yeah.
training, managing them, spending one-on-one time with them, and bringing them into, you are also part of the success of the team by having specific reward for them, financial reward for them.
Yeah.
So that's a very two different thing, but it's still people being on another continent
Yeah.
that you have to manage, or to have to make sure that the service and the consistency of your brand is followed, your protocol is followed, etc., etc.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's the
But it's not
experience.
new. It's not new, and
No.
it's getting more and more popular in our industry now because people have done it for now a critical time.
Yeah, I believe that to be true, and I think certainly some of the constraints that are being put on the P&L side of our business
Yes,
are probably motivating our offshoring efforts as
yes.
well.
It's a no-brainer when it comes to very repetitive tasks and administrative tasks that could be done from anywhere in the
Yeah,
world.
definitely. Well, before we draw to a close here, are there any questions and or a question that I've not asked you that might have brought out some knowledge that would be, um, germane to this conversation or valuable to our audience?
I think my last insight when someone is considering offshoring is really discuss it very openly with your existing team, and really demystify the fear that, oh, my job is going to be cut then. Because it's, again, to me, offshoring is to provide support to be able to elevate your existing team to the next level of management, of processes, of customer services. And trying to be as transparent as possible, as understanding the fear of a human being, that this is, we're not removing your job, we are actually slightly changing it. So the repetitive tasks that are a burden will be done by someone else, and you can elevate your game to learn a new skill, do more, and more things that are more interesting to you and makes you happier. Spending the time to really sit down with your team and explain the bigger picture and why you are doing it is crucial to the success of onboarding those offshore teammates.
Makes sense. I think those are all very important points. And
They are.
Stephanie, I have absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I have one of these remarkable pads. I've taken 3 pages of notes.
Old fashioned. I thought you
Yeah.
might have AI doing it for you.
Oh, I
Come
also
on,
have
Mike.
AI doing it, but I don't know what it is. I think I imbue knowledge in my head
I
more
hear
readily
you.
when I'm writing. So
It
yeah, I
was
am very.
lovely. I truly enjoy sharing with you, and talking about something so important and
Mhm.
so needed in our industry, is to embracing the change that is coming. If we embrace it all together, I think everybody will rise. There is no fear to have, because it's already here.
Yeah, that final point there is so true. It's here. We should embrace it because it is not going away. And
Now,
to the extent you embrace it, you'll be more profitable because of it. So
do
All
it
right.
rather sooner than later.
That's right. Stephanie, where can people find you online or directly if they have other questions born out of this conversation?
I am on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer any more questions or have any more conversations about this topic. I'm really always happy to share.
Excellent. And are you attending any conferences for the balance of the year where if people want to see you in person and have a conversation, are you going to be out there in the conference arena?
Yes, thank you for asking. I'll be
Good.
at Blueprint in September, and I'll
Mhm.
be at Optech in November.
Okay. Excellent. So if you want to see Stephanie in person, Blueprint or Optech coming up before the end of the year. Stephanie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you investing some time with us.
I'm so appreciative of you, Mike. Thank you so very much for having me today.